Hi everyone, it's Trishna. So in today's video, I want to talk to you about something that's been coming up a lot in my discussions with my friends, as well as in my discussions with my clients. And this has to do with the dating world. And it has to do with my friends and my clients putting out these intentions to draw in a long-term partner or to draw in their lifelong partner. But somehow, even though they're putting that out there, they keep attracting unavailable partners over and over and over again. So I want to talk about how we can align our energy so that we do actually draw in and attract the long-term or lifelong partner that we're looking for. So I know for me, when I was in the dating game or the dating phase, I kept getting energetically paired with unavailable partners. And so that often resulted in me sometimes getting ghosted, me having a lot of relationships that only lasted 2 to 3 months, me being caught up in this makeup and breakup cycle, usually as a result of me matching up with a lot of people who were lonely or a lot of people who absolutely loved and adored me, but who also at the same time maybe had family issues or maybe were dealing with some kind of depression. So I ended up getting energetically paired with a lot of unavailable partners. And the thing is we live in a society that really values that immediate gratification. We know this with texting, we know this with social media, we know this with all the likes. But the way that it translates in relationships is it means that people are ready to date, but the moment that there's a problem in the relationship, they're just as quick to bolt. It means that people really don't understand how relationships work. They don't understand that it takes some effort and that it takes really accepting yourself as well as another person. And so a lot of times when we're dating somebody, when we're all committed, the other person is ready to bolt because they don't want to face. They're looking for perfection. They're looking for that immediate gratification. And when you suddenly don't measure up to that, they're not ready to face your flaws. And they're also not ready to look within themselves and face themselves and where they could grow as well. And I know there's one thing that comes up a lot in the spiritual community and probably beyond that, which is when somebody doesn't treat you right, it has almost everything to do with them and very little to do with you. If somebody's lashing out at you, if somebody's treating you poorly, it's because there's something going on with them that is causing them to act in that way, and it's really not about you. And I do agree with that in a lot of cases, but I talk a lot about duality on this channel where there tends to be this, it's one thing or the other thing, so it's either them or it's me. And I think it's really important that we find that balance and that we don't live in this polarity or this duality. So yeah, maybe the other person is the one that is at fault. But it's also really important that we look at how we can align our energy, how we can get our vibe in order, how we can reflect on ourselves and see where maybe our thinking isn't very productive for us and maybe drawing in the wrong people, how we can take a little bit more responsibility for the vibration that we're putting out there. And when we do that, when we take more responsibility like that, we actually gain much more creative control over our life and who we draw into it. So I think it's really important that we take a look at ourselves, not to put ourselves down, not to hurt ourselves, not to find reasons to criticize ourselves, but to just analyze what we're putting out there, what our fears are, where our insecurities lie. So when we understand that, we can work on it, and then we can up our vibe and draw in who we really want to have in our lives. So before we get into some specifics on how we can align our energy to truly draw in and attract that long-term or lifelong partner that we desire, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the mentalities and some of the advice that is out there that can really trip up our minds and really trip up our vibration and keep us from really attracting the kind of person that we are looking for, the kind of relationship that we are looking for. And I have some notes here that I may be looking down at from time to time. So the first one that I want to talk about is, I know there's a lot out there around like avoidance and attachment styles, and I think information like that can be really helpful. It helps you understand who you are and how you show up in a relationship and how you act and react, and it helps you understand how somebody else shows up and how they act and react and why certain relationship dynamics are happening, and it gives you the ability to sympathize with somebody and empathize with them as well as yourself based off of what kind of childhood might have led somebody to have a certain attachment style, for example. So I think it's really good for understanding and having compassion for another. That's really important. But at the end of the day, you really are just only putting a label on somebody and putting a label on yourself. And it doesn't actually help you attract in the relationship that you want. It just puts a label on something, and that's about as far as that goes. And I know that there's this one saying, and this is very true, where people will say, hey, you'll find a relationship, you will find love when you least expect it, when you're not trying. And this is 100% true. I've definitely experienced this multiple times where I was definitely not looking for a partner at that point in time, and I would meet somebody at work, or I'd end up going to a party and I meet somebody there. So definitely true, but the question here is, when you meet that person, when you're not expecting love and you're not looking for it, are they the right match? Because unless you do the alignment work, unless you do the energy work first, you're just going to keep hitting up unavailable partners. So yeah, people may be coming to you when you least expect it or when you're not trying it, but are they really the right person? And that's why aligning the energy is so important. And the other thing that I know a lot of people talk about is self-love. And in order to draw in somebody who loves you, you have to love yourself first. And this is definitely really, really good advice, and this is what we're actually going to be focusing on in this video a lot. The thing is unless you know how to do that, you're confused. And so the advice of love yourself can just leave us a little bit empty, because we were like, okay, yeah, I'm all for that, but how do I do that? And I know for me, when I was in the dating world, I definitely liked a lot of myself. I love myself. Like, I felt really good being with myself. I liked who I was. I liked how I was with people. I have career success. Like, I had a lot of really good things going for me. And yet I still was attracting unavailable partners. And so it's not just about loving yourself and feeling good about yourself. It's really about doing the deep work. And for me, the deep work ended up being, hey, like, I realized that I had some insecurities that I didn't know that I had. And so it's really about diving deep, and we're going to be doing that in this video. And then the other thing that I want to mention is, I know there's a lot of relationship coaches out there, there's a lot of dating coaches out there, there's a lot of rules about playing the game, playing hard to get, no contact, and all of that. And I think some of that is important. It is good to keep an air of mystery, I guess, but that really is focusing on the game. And when you're with the right person and when your energy is aligned, you really don't need that, because nothing you do when you are in alignment can be a mistake. So you can't be too clingy, you can't be too distant when you're in alignment with your energy. So that's why that is key, and that's why that is the focus of this video. If you want to draw in the partner that is long-term and that is your lifelong partner, it's all about the energy, and that is why I put so much more focus on that than anything else. Just chuck the games and the rules and all that out the door, because if you don't do the energy work first, you're just going to be stuck up in that cycle of the games. All right, so now let's get into some ways you can really hone in on how to love yourself, how to bring in more self-worth, because like I was saying before, when I was told, hey, just love yourself, I thought that I was loving myself, but I was really focused on more of the superficial aspects, and I just didn't know that because nobody was there to really tell you how to do the self-love and the self-worth work. So in this video, again, we're going to go into all those layers. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So the first thing that I want to talk about is, it's really, really important that you are aware of your flaws and that you accept them. So we talked about a little bit earlier in this video how we live in a society where there is just this need for instant gratification. And when you're in the dating world, that means that, hey, people get on dating sites and they pick somebody that they like, and then everything's going fine and dandy, and the moment there's a problem, that person's just like, hey, you know what? I could find somebody else who will gratify me now, instead of wanting to work through this problem and wanting to address things and look at myself more deeply and look at somebody else more deeply. So the thing is being on the receiving end, the reason why you're probably hitting up a lot of these people who are not willing to look at flaws or look at problems is because you may be unwilling to look at your own flaws and to accept them. You may not feel like you are worthy of being loved for XYZ reason. And it's really, really important that you identify what those reasons are, why you feel like you may not be worthy of love, and that you love yourself for them, that you accept them. Because the moment that you accept your flaws, you will draw in somebody who accepts them as well. And ultimately, that is what you want. That is what a long-term partnership is. It's about somebody who loves you for who you are. And that doesn't mean that you don't work on yourself. It doesn't mean that you don't work on your flaws and try to be a better partner and a better person just because they accept you. But you want somebody who's willing to go the distance with you and who understands that you're a real person, that you're not just somebody that they get instant gratification from, and then the moment that you don't, they can move on like you're a nobody. You want somebody who truly values you. So that's really, really important. So take some time to identify what some of your flaws are, and maybe even poll your friends and ask them to be honest with you. And if it hurts to hear what they're saying, and if you disagree with what they're saying, it doesn't matter. Just heal on it anyways. Just accept that anyways. And the moment that you do that, you'll feel so much more comfort with yourself, so much more love for yourself, and you're going to draw on people who will mirror that to you. So mirroring, let's talk about that next. I wasn't going to talk about that next, but since we use that word, that's what we're going to talk about. So mirroring effect. So when we're talking about unavailable partners, it's really important that you go deep and that you try to figure out how you are unavailable as well. Because if you're attracting an unavailable partner, you are unavailable in some way as well. And it took me a long, long time to figure this out. But once I figured this out, 6 months later, I was engaged. So this is really important because, and I mentioned this in one of my videos in the Trishna's Temple of Transformation on Facebook. So if you have not joined my Facebook group, I recommend that you join that because we will be having a lot of conversations like these. The link will be in the description box below. But anyways, in one of my videos there, I was talking about how, in my head, I was this perfect partner. I showed up for my partners. I was there for them. I would write their papers, write their essays, whatever they needed. I was there. Any way that they needed something, I was there to support them. So in my head, I was like, I'm there. I'm available. I'm showing up. I'm present. I'm listening to them when I'm near them. I'm helping them. I'm helping them when they need it. I'm anticipating their needs before they even need to ask me for help. Like, I am there. I'm present. I'm available. And it was only until many years later that I was able to look deeper at myself and I realized, you know what? I'm actually not entirely available. My partner's unavailable, but so am I. I may be there physically, but I'm not there emotionally. I was not willing to, when my partner hurt me, I was never willing to tell them. When they told me that I hurt them, I was there to help them. I was there to fix it. Hey babe, whatever you need, like let me do it. But I could not tell them when they hurt me. I feel like I didn't have a right to say that. I felt like it would be unfair of me to say that because if I told them that, then they would have to change. And does that mean that I'm controlling them or like making them have to be somebody different? So because of that, I was not available to them emotionally. I was not able to be there in that way and to give them the opportunity to make things better, to give them the opportunity to give back to me. So take a deep look at yourself and see, how are you attracting? Why are you attracting an unavailable partner? How are you mirroring that same ultimate vibration, but in your own unique way? So the next thing I want to talk about is complementary energy. And I've done a video on this channel, YouTube channel, where I was talking about why we attract lonely people. So for me, I kept attracting lonely person after lonely person after lonely person. And most of my partners, if not all, had depression. And I couldn't understand why, because I don't mind being alone. Like, I am not a lonely person. When I'm alone, I'm just like, oh great, I have extra time to make videos, I have extra time to work on things for my clients, I have extra time to blog, I have extra time to catch up on my YouTube videos that I like to watch, I have time to catch up on Netflix and things like that. Like, when I have extra time, I take it. So I couldn't understand why I was attracting lonely people. And I realized, again, after a long time, about the complementary energy, where I really don't like. Ever since I was a little kid, it really used to bother me when I would see somebody alone. If I was at a restaurant and I was with my family having a good time, with my friends having a good time, and I saw somebody eating alone at the table, especially if they're a man, I don't know why, but if I saw a man eating at a table by himself, it made me sad. It made me feel like he was alone. It made me want to be there for him, or whoever it was. And just seeing people walking around alone when I was younger and all that. And as an adult, I don't have that same thing. I actually like sometimes eating by myself. I like going to the movies by myself. I travel for work, so it's just kind of thing. I've been to comedy shows by myself and people look at me weird, but it's like, well, I'm traveling by myself. I want to have fun. I'm going to go out. I'm not going to just stay in my hotel room. So I don't have that now, but I was attracting it in my relationships because I was putting out the energy of, I don't want people to be alone. I'll be there for you. So I was attracting people who were alone, saying, I'm alone and I want somebody to be there for me. And so we complemented each other, and that's why I kept attracting that. And again, once I realized that, that changed in my relationships, almost immediately. So that is one way to align. If you're attracting a certain kind of person over and over again, and you can't figure out the mirroring, but I highly suggest you work on the mirroring first because it's probably there. But if you can't figure that out, then see how you might be complementing. Another thing to focus on is are you doing too much in the relationship? And this is definitely a big one for lightworkers and for empaths and for indigos. This is definitely a big one for me, and I have to even catch myself now when I do that, is are you doing too much in a relationship? Do you feel like you need to be the one that's always doing, the one that's always giving in a relationship? Because that has some deep self-worth issues within it that are really, really important to address if you want to have a balanced relationship. Because when you feel like you have to do and you have to give, and you have a hard time receiving as well, you're going to attract partners who are going to take because you're willing to give, and they're not going to stay around to give back to you, because again, that is the vibration that you're putting out there. If any of this is resonating for you, let me know below. So doing too much can come in a lot of different forms. It can be just actually doing too much. It can show up as whenever you're trying to pick where you're going to go for a date, and maybe your partner has picked the last several and you've picked one, and then your partner's like, no, actually I want to go where they want to go, and you just kind of give in and you're just like, okay, fine. And that's again a self-worth thing, where you feel like you don't have a say, or you feel like you shouldn't be able to go where you want to go, or that you're going to make your partner unhappy if you go where you want to go. Like, that's you putting too much in and taking responsibility for the other person's emotions. Because if you've been going where they want to go the last 3 times, it's okay if they're upset going where you want to go. Like, that's on them at that point, right? There has to be that balance. So doing too much in a relationship, giving too much in a relationship can show up in different ways. It can show up in actually giving too much, but it can also show up in letting the person have their own way more often than maybe they should, and not giving yourself a voice. And the final big one that I want to talk about in this video is, you have to ask yourself the question, if you don't have a long-term partner right now, if you don't have your lifelong partner right now and you really want to have that, you really need to ask yourself the question, do you believe that you are worthy of having somebody love you for who you are for the rest of your life? And I think when you ask yourself that question, if you have any kind of resistance to that, any kind of blocks there, those are really, really important to address, because that, again, is one of the ones that I had to address, and that really works wonders. And this is really, really, really important. And you can use this in any area of your life. If there's a certain job that you want, you can ask yourself, do I truly believe that I'm worthy of actually having that job? And see what comes up, and do your energy work and alignment work on that. Now, these are all of the ways that you can align your energy. If you're not sure what to do with this information, you're like, okay, like, I see how this applies to me. What do I do with this? I have 3 videos, I believe it's 3 videos in my Law of Attraction playlist. I will link that down below in the description box, where we talk about how to heal your emotional blocks. If you follow that process, you'll be golden. Like, you'll be able to clear all this out of your system. The process that I share is a process that I have used to bring in basically everything that I have right now in my life, and I'm like 95% have everything that I want. So that kind of process really, really works. Now, what I'm also going to be giving is a free meditation. You can access it by going down to the description box and joining my newsletter on my homepage. And I'm going to be doing a meditation that will help you really align with yourself, align with that long-term partner energy, and putting that vibe out there, and that strong self-worth energy as well. If there is one thing that you should do, aside from getting food, getting water, having a roof over your head, all the basic needs, if there is one thing that you should do that will essentially guarantee your happiness for all of time, it is to meditate. Because when we meditate, that allows our conscious brain, which holds on to a lot of stress and that focuses very much on the physical reality and the limited possibilities that it can see, it allows the conscious brain to calm down and allows the subconscious brain to come to the surface and to open up and to release the beliefs that no longer serve you and to take on the beliefs that do. So in my meditations, I focus very much on that process of releasing the beliefs that no longer serve you and helping you take on the beliefs that do, so that they get embedded in your subconscious and they become a part of your natural self. So highly recommend that you join the newsletter so that you can get access to the meditation. And the last thing that I want to leave you with is, so now when you go out, and especially after you listen to the meditation where you're calm and you're in a more positive belief mindset and you've let go of the negative beliefs, especially when you're in that state, it's really important that you set new intentions for your relationships. And I think there's 2 things you should include in your intentions for your relationships. These are the two things that I included right before I found my now fiance. The first one is you want to have a partner who, sorry, write it down here, who is committed to their own self-growth. I think this is extremely important. I think this is probably one of the most important qualities that you can have in a partnership. And it's really important because you want somebody, again, who is going to want to grow with you in a relationship. And you also want to be somebody who is committed to your own self-growth. You want there to be that balance where both of you are committed to growing as people so that you can grow together in a relationship and grow the relationship as well. And the other intention you should put out there is to attract a partner who is worthy of your trust. Because somebody who's worthy of your trust is going to want to talk to you about things. And when they talk to you about things, you two can fix things. You two can work on things. And that, again, will solidify the two of you being in a long-term partnership together going forward. So I think that concludes everything that I wanted to share with you. I know it was a lot. I hope it was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you haven't already joined my brand new Facebook group, Trishna's Temple of Transformation on Facebook, join by going down to the description box below and join the Facebook group there. Also join the newsletter for the meditation. We're going to be going on a journey together to really build up your self-worth and draw in that long-term partner. And yeah. If you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, and I will see you in my next video.